While most racehorses become accustomed to stable life throughout their racing career, how does an off-track thoroughbred deal with being boxed in his new life? We caught up with the former John Sargent trained Favreau at Sydney Centennial Park and one of the managers there, Emma Cox, to see how he's dealing with a thriving equestrian precinct. Emma, it's wonderful to see Favreau. He's in fantastic condition. Tell me first up how he came to be with you.
So we got Favreau in about March last year, and it was by pure accident that we ended up with him. John Sargent has known Steve Gladstone, my trainer, for a long time, and phoned Steve and said, look, I've got a horse that's out of a very similar mould to the current horse that Steve had, who was Heartbreaker, and he wanted Steve to go and have a look at it. So I came back from Canberra Royal with Greenspan, my small hack, and we jumped in the truck and we drove out to look at him, and Steve straight away saw him in the paddock and went, yep, that's the horse, put it on the truck. And I thought, oh my goodness me, what are we taking home? He was very rough around the edges, a bit scruffy. He had a full winter coat and he was covered in mud because there'd been a fair bit of rain, and he was spelling for an injury. So we picked him up and we brought him back to Centennial Park, and Steve and I originally intended to, the horse was originally for Steve, and then I maybe convinced Steve that I would like the horse after a bath, and he looked quite nice and put together, and now the horse is mine, and Steve works very closely with me with him.
Just some background on Favreau. He's a son of Tavistock, sold by Windsor Park Stud at the NZB yearling sale, bought by Aquis, and Duncan Ramage and John Sargent brought into him in partnership. He was always a beautiful horse. They do look very different, don't they, when they're scrubbed up?
They certainly do, and it took a long time for Favreau to grow into himself. He was quite long and quite fine, but he really has taken the last 12 months to fill out and become a lot better and much better condition. So it's really pleasing to see him develop shape and develop new muscle in the right places based on the work that we're doing, and it's really helped him to fill into that show horse that he can be. You know, not there yet, but certainly on his way.
Favreau's coming very late.
He's a 7-year-old now. He's had 12 starts. He won 2 and placed 2. He was a length off in Yaletown's Tulloch Stakes, 6th in Explosive Jack's ATC Derby. He then had an injury, but he certainly had an athleticism. And obviously those horses that race in stakes company and win races, that athleticism transfers to what you do.
Yeah, look, he has really obviously been a very successful racehorse, and I'm not that big into the racing side of things. So when you know, I'm told that he's won or placed in these really great races, it's quite interesting to me, and I really do enjoy going back to watch my horses race wins and their races, because it's always amazing to see, you know, that they can go from that race career, that really strong athletic build, into a different career, and we take them on for showing, and they thrive, and Favreau has just really done that. He's jumped straight into racing as a young horse and then straight into being a show horse, and it's taken him time to develop into that, and it's taken time for him to be confident as a show horse, but we're finding now after Sydney Royal that he's just coming into his own, and we're starting to really see some progress with him and enjoy him quite a lot.
And we have some gorgeous vision from this year's Sydney Royal Easter Show. He was 4th in the lead class, competing against the likes of Hartnell. It really does create a great link between the racing and equestrian worlds, doesn't it, when we see these well-known horses at major equestrian events?
Yeah, definitely, and it was an absolute pleasure to have Favreau there this year. You know, we started working him in about June last year after he spelled from an injury, and at Christmas time he actually fractured a bone in his leg, so we were very lucky to even have him at Sydney Royal this year, and you know, to see him out there thriving in the atmosphere and looking the part. He handled it so well for a horse that really has not done that much since retiring from racing. We were absolutely elated. You know, Sydney Royal for me is a childhood dream. dream. The ribbons are secondary. Being out there is the best part of my year. I love it. You know, I made my mother sit up there in the grandstands with me from the age of 2 and told her that I wanted to ride a horse and I wanted to compete at Sydney. So to be able to walk out there with my own horses now and, you know, look up in the stands and see young girls, you know, wanting to be there, it's really special. And to have my own 2 horses out there and Favreau really giving it a good go and really working hard and showing that he's got the potential and the promise to do this was really exciting.
And you yourself, you're not from a horsey background. It makes it pretty hard, I guess, to get into the whole show horse scene, doesn't it? It just shows people can do well with thoroughbreds, even if they weren't brought up with them.
It certainly does. I am so incredibly fortunate to have amazing parents. They are the least horse people that you would meet. My dad's actually highly allergic to horses. You know, they've always supported my dream. They've always supported my passion. I learned to ride here as a 2-year-old. I convinced my mum when I was 5 that I was ready to ride a horse, and I was obsessed with the saddle club. So that kind of got me into here, and I haven't stopped riding ever since, and they've been incredibly supportive.
And now you've gone on to become the president of the Members Club at Centennial Park, an incredible equestrian facility right in the heart of Sydney. How does the Centennial Park Centre operate for horse owners?
So Centennial Park Lands Equestrian Centre is right in the middle of Sydney. It's 15 minutes from the CBD and it's one of the only facilities in the world that you can have horses right in the middle of the city. You know, we have the capacity for about 200 horses here, and you've got 3 riding schools that operate and work to teach the next generation of riders. And I'm very fortunate that I've been involved now for the last 18 months as the president of CPEC Members Club, which represents the private clients, so the people that own their own horses, and a lot of them are thoroughbreds, and it's fantastic to see. We've been able to upgrade the arenas, purchase new show jumping equipment, and we actually have a brand new surface coming in the next few weeks for one of our arenas that we were able to secure through a grant. So it's a really amazing facility, multiple arenas to ride in, as well as the incredible Centennial Park lands itself. You know, you've got 4.5 kilometres of track that you can ride around, as well as an equestrian facility right in the middle of the park. There's nothing like it in the world, and I'm really fortunate, but it's a lot of commitment and a lot of dedication to have a horse here.
How does Favreau cope with stable life nowadays?
Look, every single horse here goes on a different journey in settling in. Some of them take to it like a duck to water, and others take time. I'm very fortunate that my horses have all settled in very, very quickly. Quite often, unless there's an injury, we take them straight from the track and bring them here for their start, and then we spell them after about 3 to 4 weeks. And that's because they're in work, they're fit, they're in condition, and their brains are ready for work. So we give them a good start straight from the track, and we only do that because of the experience I've got in Steve Gladstone, who supports me, and that's the approach that we take. And it's been a very successful approach for us, but it's not for every horse, and you know, quite often they do need a long spell before coming in here. But you know, as with any horse, routine is so key, and when there is routine and consistency for them, they thrive. And Favreau just loves the attention he gets twice a day, every day. He is absolutely spoilt rotten. Any carrots, apples, and everything you can think of that he wants, he gets. And his personality certainly has come through, and he is quite the character that we see every day, which it shows how happy he is being here. I'm very fortunate that Steve is here, and he's an incredible horseman who's been involved in the horse industry for a very long time. He rode stunt work in the Far Lap movie and trained very closely with Heath Harris on a number of films over the years, and his knowledge and expertise in taking horses from all backgrounds, but particularly racehorses off the track, is so key. And I think without that guidance and expertise, I know that I wouldn't have been able to have the success that I've had. And Favreau hasn't been an easy horse. He has taken time to adapt to life, and it took me time to trust him. He's probably the most challenging horse I've ever had post-racing, but he has just come into his own now, and I trust him so much, and I'm having so much fun with him. And that's because a lot of the work Steve does with me in making sure that not only is the training that we're doing correct direct and very basic, but it's also interesting for the horse. We don't do the same thing every day. We keep it really interesting so that he's never bored and he's always looking for that next thing to do.
It's a really great takeout, isn't it, to see racing owners getting so much joy from their ex-racehorses.
Yeah, Jennifer and John reached out to me after Team Thoroughbred New South Wales shared a post of Favreau, and they are just so delighted with him being involved in the show horse industry. And they actually met Favreau at Canberra Royal this year, which was lovely because they said that they hadn't been able to meet him in the flesh because COVID was most of his race career, so they were kept aside. So they got to come up, they got to pat him, they got to feed him, and just see how well he's transitioned to life, and they're regularly in contact, which is amazing, and I'm happy to keep them updated, and I love that they're involved because, you know, it was a special horse for them on the track, and still a special horse for them now.